Welcome to Power Up Your Practice, the go-to podcast for law firm owners and managing attorneys working on the business, not in it. I'm Ruby Powers, your guide into the heart of law practice management, bringing you insights from leading legal minds, trailblazing attorneys, and expert guests who provide you with an actionable perspective on running your firm more effectively and efficiently. Prepare to open your mind, be inspired, and power up your practice to the next level. Welcome everyone. My name is Ruby Powers, your host and companion through the ever-evolving landscape of law practice management. And thanks for joining us on another episode of Power Up Your Practice, where we get to hear from our guests about their life journey, how they define success, their superpowers, and just a lot more of like what we can do to improve our own practice. And so I'm really excited to have Matt Spiegel here today. He's a serial entrepreneur, had a lot of different CEO hats, but he is the founder and former CEO of MyCase, one of the largest practice management companies in the legal space, but current founder and CEO of Lawmatics, a venture-backed company changing the way law firms manage their business and grow their practices. And I've seen Matt at ABA Tech Show and different conferences in the past, and I'm really excited to have him here on our show today. So thank you. Welcome, Matt, and tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, and likewise, I'm very excited to be here, Ruby. I feel like it's a long time coming, to be honest with you. So it's good to finally be here with you. And yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. My background, for those of you that don't know, I am a lawyer. I still maintain my bar card. I think my parents would be pretty upset if they put me through law school and then I just end up letting the license expire since I'm not really practicing. So I still am a licensed attorney. I practiced for a while, like right out of law school. I started my own law firm, and then out of my own law firm, I basically had the idea for MyCase and ended up starting that company and ran it for a bunch of years, and then left to go do a couple other things, and then ended up coming back into the legal space at the end of 2017, finding, as the founder of Lawmatics, and now here I am.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize Lawmatics was started in 2017.
Yeah, it was started in 2017. It was a long time to build something that was sellable, right?
Okay.
It was a pretty big product, and so it took a while before we had something to sell. So while it appears probably to most people like Lawmatics probably came alive in like 2019, it really kind of had its nexus and really got started at the very end of 2017.
Okay. No, that's really good to know. Well, full disclosure, I've used Lawmatics since 2020, and but I really wanted to focus on just like the CRM concept, really. But I mean, that's crazy to know that it's I've been having it sort of since it almost came out a little bit. So
yeah.
That's
yeah. COVID throws all the time off.
It's like a time warp.
Yeah.
What happened? I don't know. Well, anyway, so like, why don't you tell us briefly, like how you got in the Lawmatics? Well, you said long time coming and building out something that was sellable, but like, why did you start Lawmatics?
Well, that's a good question. And I think there's a couple reasons. So I think it came up as, I think the concept. So let's talk about Lawmatics more as a concept, right? So this like concept of a CRM or the concept of like sort of front office tools, right? Like, things that are like helping you get more business or lead management, right? That type of thing. And so if we think of that as a concept, I think that the concept of this kind of became aware to me and others on my team while I was still at MyCase. So we would do a lot of product discovery and customer discovery, customer discussions and analysis on, what are lawyers thinking? Like what's going to be the next thing that they're going to want us to build? What is the next thing that, that they're going to get excited about? How are they going to want to use technology as time goes on? And as we were doing those exercises while at MyCase, something started to kind of bubble up, right? You started to see the sort of a kernel of an idea, like this concept of lead management was not at the top of the minds of lawyers, right? But it was in their minds. And so it then kind of got into the back of my head as like, okay, this is something that lawyers are starting to think about. And when you look at the landscape of how law firms were evolving and how the market itself was evolving, and I think what you saw was more and more solo, smaller law firms, right? A lot of people leaving bigger law firms to start their own law firm, and you also saw a lot of along with that, you saw traditional marketing start to become apparent, right, in law firms. What I mean by that is like lawyers started marketing on Google, right, or using social media. And what I thought was, well, if they are going to do that, they're going to need tools to help them manage all of it, right? But the market wasn't quite there, to be honest with you. This is like 2013, 2014, and it was going that direction, but I don't know that it had really made that transition. And the other thing really driving it here is these are tools like the concept of CRM. And I'm sure we can talk about what that actually even means, because I think, Ruby, if you ask, 100 lawyers what a CRM is, you're going to get 99 different answers.
Well, I think we should probably define it, because even when I do speeches, like I have to just customer relationship management, but then it's like, well, what really does that mean? Because like, I think like out in the industry, people think maybe, who live in that space, maybe they think like Salesforce, Zoho, some of those other ones, but like Lawmatics is one of the few legal based ones out there. And I think, like you said, like a lot of law firms really didn't know how to integrate it. Like there was a need, but they didn't really know what the possibility could be and how things.
Well, the truth is, a lot of these practice management systems in some capacity are CRMs, right? Like, because a CRM, like you just said, it's really anything that helps you manage your relationships, right? But that could mean so many different things. Right. That could mean, well, just information about your contact, right? Your name and their email and their birth date, and keeping that stuff up to date. That is the most basic form of a CRM. And your cell phone could be a CRM in that regard, right? But the traditional sense of CRM now, what I think the tech world thinks when they think CRM is a lot more than that, right? It's not just the maintaining of the information about your contact and your relationship. It's the actual interactions that you have. It's all of the touch points, the communications. It's really every single thing having to do with that relationship that gets managed inside of a CRM, right? How valuable they are, how opportunities for new cases, so revenue numbers, sales, right? Really sales numbers tied to those contacts. That's really what a CRM stands for now, right? And so if you take it back, like what's interesting about this is, go back to 2013, 2014 again, as a software company, a CRM was our backbone. We couldn't live without it. And most other industries were the same way, but legal wasn't there yet, right? Mm-hmm. So then if you fast forward to like 2017, so now I've looked at the market and seen, okay, there's been a shift. Like lawyers are ready for this type of a product, and they're ready for a product that we've had in our industry for years, right? In the software industry. So now let's think about, why aren't lawyers using those tools that we use? Why are they not using Salesforce? Why are they not using HubSpot? Why are they not using these tools for their practice, right? And the answer, was pretty obvious. Lawyers we're a tough tech bunch, right? We're tough. We're very slow to adopt. But we need the things that really help us perform our specific set of tasks and the way that we work. And those products are not built for law firms. The legal industry is one of those industries where it really does require having something built specifically for lawyers to get any sort of traction. And so that was our jumping off point. It was like, all right, the market the industry itself has gotten to a point where they are ready for these tools. Now we simply need to create them, basing them off of tools that already exist, and just make them specifically, add in the functionality that lawyers actually need.
So why don't we just talk more about like what are practical things, like if you're using a CRM for your law firm, that you could like, what are some of the benefits of using it, or like practical things like you can schedule consultations online, and you can automatically send like Zoom links or something and send intakes. Like you can really automate, like you said, the front end of processes, but I'll let you go.
No, I mean, you kind of nailed it, right? I think at the end of the day, a CRM is a revenue generating tool. That is what it's designed to do. Okay. Now, a good CRM will also have, I mean, it's like, a focus of ours is also ensuring that there's automation involved, right? And I'll kind of talk about why I think automation is so important and the value of it. But more importantly is that, because that part of it, the automation, is what saves you a ton of time. So a good CRM is also going to save you an incredible amount of time, which obviously has a revenue impact, but maybe not as directly as actually getting new clients. But that is what a CRM should do. And it's not going to fill the top of your funnel, right? If we think about your marketing funnel, right? Or I'm going to use a word, this podcast, that lawyers don't like using, but I'm promoting them to use it because it's really what it is. We as lawyers like to say intake, right?
Oh,
right. It's just like, we think it's fancy, and it's like, oh, well, we're lawyers, right?
Like sales,
as opposed to sales, but it is sales. And so let's call it what it is. It's sales. Okay. You might like it as a lawyer, and lawyers are going to be listening to me being like, oh, I'm not a salesman. Yes, you are. At some point in the process, you are.
It's funny because in the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Businesses program, I saw the sales funnel for the first time. It was like 9 years ago, and I was like, this doesn't apply to us lawyers. And then I was just being so naive and stupid, and I was just like, wait a minute. And then I was like, that's like, the contact, and then the consult, and the contract, and it turns into a case, and then you can reverse engineer it. It is. You just have to use different words, but it's the same thing. And I put that in, in my upcoming book, in the last book too, is, that's just the way we should look at it. But continue. Right. It's okay. We can use that word.
Yeah. So it's sales. So if you look at, kind of two funnels, you have like, well, let's just kind of combine it all into one sales and marketing funnel, right? The very, very top of the funnel is like people coming to your website or getting referred to you, and they're leads, and they're coming in the top. And, no one listening to this has, it's funny, right? Because the actual ultimate goal is not to have a funnel at all. It's to have a cylinder, right?
Yeah.
It's like every lead that you get goes down
100%
and comes out
conversion.
right. But that's not the reality, which is why it's called a funnel, right? And the truth of it is you probably don't want 100%, right? Because not all of them are going to be good fits, and you probably don't want them as clients. But you have some sort of, something feeding the top of your funnel, and then there's different steps of that process where more and more people exit the funnel, right? And so, what a CRM is going to do is ensure that more of those leads that enter the top of the funnel get all the way down to the bottom, because you have a funnel, and your law firm listening, you have a funnel, whether you think you have a funnel or not, you do. You have a process by which when a new lead or a new client comes in the door, like there is a process that you follow in order before they become a client, right? Excuse me. And so you lose people during that funnel. There are holes in that funnel, and you probably don't know where they are, right? And they could be high in the funnel. They could be low in the funnel. They could be, as soon as they come to your website, they don't fill out a form. They could be, once they fill out the form, they fall off there. They don't book a consultation. Maybe they book a consultation, but they don't show up. Maybe they get through all of that, but they don't end up converting to a client. There are lots of different steps in that funnel, and you are losing people at every step of that funnel. A good CRM is going to help you understand that funnel. It's going to help you understand where are people falling out. And guess what happens? If you can understand where the holes are, then you know what you need to fix. And if you fix those holes, more people end up falling out of the bottom. So at the end of the day, the CRM is going to give you insight into all of these things. It's going to give you data on all of these things. And that data is going to help you become a more successful law firm because you will convert more clients, right? Those leads that come in at the top, more of them are going to exit out the bottom, which is what you want.
Yeah. And it goes back to that Peter Drucker quote about what gets measured matters. And the more data you have, the better. And if you didn't have a CRM that could give you all this data, you'd have to basically go around searching for this information, like maybe go to your phone records to figure out how many calls you get, or go to your contact form from your website, sort of piecemeal together everything, and then see how many consults that, what scheduled, paid, had, consults. So, I mean, we did something like that called the everything audit, and that's, but if all your data is being pulled into a CRM, you can just automatically, and you trust that data, you can just get an automatic report submitted to you.
I think there's a term that's really critical when it comes to the CRM, and it's source of truth, right? Like, it's something that we kind of throw around as like, okay, talk to a law firm. Well, like, what is your source of truth when it comes to information about a contact, right? And your history with them. And there should only be one source of truth. It's why it's called source of truth. What is that one source that like has all that information that you trust and rely on? And that is what a CRM should be, right? And there's a difference between CRM information and practice management information, right? Like practice management, CRM, what we see with our customers and what I've seen in the industry that, I've been in this space since 2010, right? Sort of helping build the legal tech industry. And what we've seen is, CRM is actually much more foundational to a law firm than practice management is, right? It's just that practice management are the first pieces of software that was built for law firms, right? Clio, Rocket Matter, MyCase, that's what we started at. Like, that's just what we came to market with, right? And so lawyers adopted that first. But at the end of the day, what we see with customers frequently is the CRM becomes their source of truth, and it's their platform. And then the practice management system is actually more transactional. It's just, okay, now this contact has hired me. I need product to help me like actually represent them and manage and bill and do all that stuff on their case. But the relationship still lives in my CRM, right? And what like an important distinction that I think helps people understand the purpose of this is kind of coming back to that funnel. Not everybody hires you, right?
Yeah.
So your CRM as a source of truth has information on every person you've ever spoken to, not only the people that have hired you, which is what your practice management system contains, right? So it really helps understand the difference and I think how they work together and why the CRM is so fundamentally important.
And like, I guess there's so much to say about this, because like they might not have hired you, but they might still want to hire you later. Like I think about people's journey. Like, maybe there was a hurricane, because that happens here in Houston, and they got distracted with, home repair and survival, or maybe it was school week started this week, and then they're going to circle back, and sometimes you see them hire you 2 or 3 months later. But if you don't have them, in some type of a funnel, or you're not following up with them, I think like at a super basic level, firms should have at a minimum a newsletter that they're collecting data, newsletter, their emails, and following up. And we did that before we had a CRM. And I think that's done wonders for our firm. But then the CRM is like, newsletter lists on steroids, like you have so many other, depending on the CRM, because like, I think what some people might realize, you can have a more automated way to draft attorney-client agreements. You can even have a newsletter function. So you don't have to, the contacts that come in can be automatically put into your newsletter. You don't have to use a Zapier to connect like a MailChimp to something, to whatever your contact form is to your MailChimp or something, or constant contact or something like that. You also could have like just automations for the online scheduling, and being able to pay and see, having just a link for people to hire. And then you also can gauge like where people are actually coming from. Is it from the Google ads, the Facebook ads, the Instagram? Is it from is it, where and that whole return on investment, that data can really let you know where to spend your time. Because I think a lot of law firm owners, managing attorneys, they're like, oh, I do all these webinars or I go to all these events, but they don't really know where their business is really coming from and if it's really worth it. And I think that the data, if you actually really try to collect it and you trust it, then you really can know what's worth your energy.
Yeah, so you hit the nail on the head. I mean, the data is the most important thing. And you also mentioned a quote earlier about measuring and analytics and as it relates to this. And I say the same thing, and I phrase it almost, it's the same thing, but it's almost the opposite in the sense that I tell people, like, you should never do anything marketing related. You should never spend money on anything that is marketing related that you cannot measure. If you can't measure it, it's not worth doing. And it may be the greatest source, but if you don't have the mechanics to actually measure whether it's working, you have no idea whether you are just throwing money down a black hole, right? So yeah. I encourage, obviously I'm a big supporter of spending money to attract clients and marketing and doing all that thing. I just think you have to be able to measure those things if you're going to be doing marketing efforts. Otherwise you are flying blind. And so that kind of lends itself to another term that I think nowadays is almost expected or thought of in the same breath as CRM, and that is marketing automation. And so you touched on it, Ruby, a lot by talking about like newsletters and engagement and automating those things. And those traditionally have been like marketing automation software tools. But thanks to companies like HubSpot or Infusionsoft, some of those other products, it's now like CRM sort of encompasses all those things, right? And so if you have the right CRM in place, it's not only about managing and seeing the information behind those relationships, it's about actually executing on the interactions. And you hit the nail on the head with like newsletters and birthday emails and all these things, all these touch points that are designed to effectively get you business, right? Like one of the things that we like to help lawyers with the most is like one of the first questions we ask is, well, how many clients have you served in your 10 years of being a law firm, right? Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, why do you care? Like, I'm just, you're just my CRM. And we're like, well, like, what are you doing to turn those 5,000 former clients into new business? Because that is a gold mine that you're sitting on, right? But most lawyers are not activating that book of business, right? And a good CRM with marketing automation, that's table stakes. That's blocking and tackling. That is how you engage those people. That's how you stay top of mind so that the next time they need a lawyer, who cares what type of lawyer it is, they're thinking about you, right?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. So like my firm's 15 years old this November, and I think we did a newsletter maybe 3 or 4 years into it, and we've been building it up since then. And even though the emails were all like in a case management software we had, but I hadn't like put it in one place and kept the content going. But now we do it in English and Spanish every other week. And I mean, we're pretty religious about it. And I know like the phone will ring more on the days that the newsletter goes out. And I know that like, that's how we keep people, we stay top of mind, even if we've already finished the case. So I'm a big proponent, of having a newsletter. And the other conversation as well is like your book of business. There's value there. Like there's going to be like, what is it? 1 in 7 attorneys are 65 and up. There's going to be a lot of baby boomers retiring soon if they ever want to stop working. And, even if they don't sell their business, they could sell maybe their book of their list, and there's value there, but also that gives more value to their business. And so I think by having it organized and activating it, that's another thing that I like to get that information out to people and collecting. It could be an intake, a consult. You say, do you want to be added to the newsletter? And then what we say on our contract is you're automatically added to our newsletter. This is how we communicate with our clients. And that's like our opt-in as well. So, much value.
I'll give you another great nugget, like kind of just piggybacking on that, like of just how powerful this stuff can be, right? It's like when I was a lawyer, I was a criminal defense lawyer. My guess is there are probably a bunch of criminal defense lawyers that listen to your podcast, right? And in California, when you are convicted of a misdemeanor, right? You have to wait 3 years, and then after 3 years, you can ask to have that expunged from your record, right? And it's pretty matter of course, right? Like you just kind of get that. Lawyers, I used to charge $1,500 for a expungement, right? So I get someone who comes in for a DUI, they get convicted, and they get convicted in 2010, in January of 2010. Well, in January of 2013, they are going to be ready to get an expungement. And trust me, those clients are anxious beyond anything else. All they can think about is getting that thing expunged from their record, right? But what am I going to do? Am I going to just keep a note that says I need to call every single one of my clients 2.5 or 2 years and 8 months after their conviction date? That's not going to work, right? I'm not going to be able to maintain that. I'm not going to do it. So a good CRM and marketing automation platform is going to do all that for you, right? So imagine being a criminal defense lawyer and you just have their conviction date in the software, and it just knows, 30 months, 32 months after the date of conviction, send an email to that client saying, hey, it's going to be time for your expungement. Give us a call and we can talk through how to help you get this off your record. That is so much business that you were going to unlock that you're just not doing anything about right now.
No, I completely agree. And I heard you give that example before, and I thought about something as a mom who gets our kids ready for camp every summer. I bought some labels, and they have me on some automation because the following year, right around the same time, they send me this email. It's like, do you need labels? And I'm like, yes, I do need labels. How did you know? But, and of course, I'm going to use that company over someone who doesn't, nudge me. But you're right. And from even their existing clients and in immigration, there's a lot of time when they're ready for the next step, like naturalization or something like that. Having that in automation, just does wonders, as opposed to just hoping that somebody, follows up on some calendar. Because who knows if you're going to have the same staff, in a few years, it's going to know, something can get dropped in the process. But that's so great. I mean, and that's the thing. There's all these ways where if you can rely on the automations, if it's trustworthy and you have the human put it in the right system in the correct way, then you should be able to rely on it. And then you can use your staff to just sort of do the follow-ups as needed, to sort of nudge as you need to go.
Yeah. And I think, the level, there's an expectation from people now, right? There's a different expectation from clients than there was 15 years ago, right? There's a different expectation on us as lawyers when it comes to communication, when it comes to speed of communication, when it comes to availability. And what I will tell you is it's physically impossible to do everything that a client needs or expects, and also try to drum up business, try to communicate with them as often as they want to be communicated with. It is not possible to do it without technology now. It just isn't, right? And it's you and I were mentioning before this call about birthdays. Let's use this as another example, right? You should be emailing all of your former clients and existing clients on their birthday every year. This is kind of marketing 101. It's blocking and tackling. Now, most lawyers probably aren't doing it. And the reason why they're not doing it is because what are they going to do? They're going to put everyone's birthday on the calendar. So every day there's 3 or 4 different people that have a birthday, and they're going to, every single day, they're going to sit down and send an email or write a card and make sure it gets sent out. No, they're not going to do that, right? But you can automate it, right? You can make it so that there's just an email from your law firm going out every year on everyone's birthday, just repeatedly. These are things that it's not possible to do that on your own. And no one expects you to do that on your own. They expect you to use technology, right? Use it to your advantage. And there's just so many other things that you can unlock. There's time, things that really could use your actual time that you'll be freed up for if you automate more of these sort of more remedial or kind of standard touch points.
That's exactly what we're doing. Like we changed our case management software recently, and now we can integrate fully with Lawmatics. And I think that's another takeaway I'd like to tell everybody is maybe you looked at a tool, a software program before, and it didn't do what you wanted to do, but they're always upgrading and changing. And you might change the system, your anchor program, might change, and then the other programs you want to use can change and upgrade. And you have to reevaluate that on a really consistent basis, because now we're taking fresh new eyes at everything, and we're like, whoa, we have so much more capability, and we're cleaning up our automations. And I'm really trying to do like what you're saying is like, I'm looking at like, have the automations and the robots and the bots and the AI do what it can do to the fullest, and have the humans do what they do best, and rely on the automations. And I think one big takeaway too is that those who are doing this are going to be ahead, because the client is more savvy. They have a higher expectation. They're seeing this in other industries, and they're wanting to see this in how they interact with their lawyer as well. And I think those who are leveraging a CRM and technology in this automation space, in the sales intake, whatever you want to call it, world, are going to be, eons ahead of those who don't want to take on that innovation.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly right. Lawyers, as I mentioned before, lawyers have always been pretty slow. We've been slow to adopt technology. What I think is interesting is that cadence has picked up a little bit, right? And so what I always tell lawyers too is, if you're not using technology to help you with these things right now, you're falling behind.
Yeah.
Right. You are like other people are, and they are going to pass you up. Right. And you're going to suffer as a result, your business. And look, not every law firm, not every listener is going to be someone who markets their law firm or feels like they need, look, I respect very much the law firm who's like, I don't need more clients right now, right? Like I'm good on clients. Maybe you need, better clients, right? The better fit, whatever it is. Everybody, I don't care whether you need new clients or not. There's still an experience that you like. There's still a good experience that you want to provide for your client, right? And I think that's what what we think about more than anything else as a provider for law firms is we put ourselves in the shoes of those clients, and we want to make sure that we are equipping lawyers with the tools to deliver the best client experience that they possibly can, right? And with practice management, at the end of the day, it's about you're actually representing them, right? So you're delivering an outcome. But with other tools, it's very experiential, right? Like the first impression, as soon as they come to your website and they fill out a form, like what is that experience that they get, right? You want to provide an excellent experience at every step of the process, right? Something that like I'm really passionate about, and I think every lawyer needs to think about is, it's this concept that like, look, being a good lawyer is not enough anymore. Like you can be a really, really exceptional lawyer that can deliver an incredible outcome. But if your client experience sucks, you're probably not going to have as successful a firm as you could have.
Yeah.
And the vice versa can be true. I know a lot of mediocre lawyers, maybe they don't deliver as good outcomes as some other lawyers around town, but they're exceptional with delivering and delighting their clients, like delivering a good experience at every step of the way. And those clients just keep coming back and they keep referring people, because it's about so much more than just the simple outcome that you deliver, right? It's about your bedside manner. It's about the attention that you give them, how you make them feel as they're going through what is most likely the most important thing in their life, right? Like any type of case, 90% of the of lawyers out there, right? You're some type of consumer-driven law firm. And that means, it's like bankruptcy or personal injury or estate planning or family law or criminal defense or immigration. And the thing is that to that client, the case they have with you is the most important thing happening in their life. And we lose sight of that as lawyers, I think, too much, right? We just think it's like, oh, it's just another client. We do this every day. We've got this thing handled. We don't put ourselves in their shoes and remember that, like, this is the most important thing in their life. And if we thought about that a little bit more, I bet you that we would behave differently in the way that we represent them and the way that we engage them.
No, that's really inspirational and a really good reminder. And I think the client engagement, looking at from the client's perspective, how their experience as they walk through the journey with our firm is really important. And I think the more we get into like our little limited scope of being the managing attorney or partner or firm owner, like a lot of times we can get disconnected with what the actual experience is, and we might only deal with maybe the upset client sometimes, and we don't really think about what a client is really experiencing and finding a better way for them to interact with us. And I agree with you, leveraging the technology, having a better client experience. This is what's expected, and this is what we need to be delivering if we haven't already. And I think even though, like, you're right, we as lawyers are usually behind the other industries. But I think what I've enjoyed hanging out with the legal tech, like minded people in the ABA Tech Show and all these other different tech conferences and things is that we're sort of like futurists in a way, trying to see where things are going. And I think the pandemic really did move the legal, industry a little bit forward especially in industry and within areas of practice within the law that we're a little bit more behind. And so it's good that we're sort of, and then even the clients are a lot more savvy than ever before, because sometimes attorneys would blame it on their clients, and I think that's just a cop out. A lot of times the clients are more capable than ever. Well, anyway, I love talking about this because I've got a renewed sense of interest in my CRM recently after we can interconnect it with our case management software. So I will stop geeking out about that and ask you our next questions, which are, what's your favorite board game or game and why?
Oh, man. So I love board games. I feel like most people love board games these days, right? It's a pretty common thing.
I would so.
And my kids, they're hard to please with board games, I feel like. And so there are a few that stand out that they really like playing. Like, so we played as a family, and to me, like, those are good board games. Like, if the kids really want to play, then it's like a really good one. There's one called that I love this game. It's called Blockus. I don't know if you've ever played a game.
Oh, no, I haven't heard of it. Now I have to figure this out.
It's just really cool. It's like you get these little pieces, like they're almost like Tetris pieces of all different size squares, and they're all weird shapes, and everyone gets the same shapes and the same amount of everything. And you basically have to place them on a board, but the rule is that only corners of your own colors can touch. And it's just like becomes this like game. It's a really great strategy game, and it's super fun. And then my daughter found on TikTok a game called Wavelength, which is really cool. And so we've been playing that a lot lately as well.
Is it like you ask questions to your family? Yeah,
it's like you kind of have a partner, and you're trying to get your partner to, like, you're trying to guide them to an answer, and it's like in two extremes. So it'll be like, this way is hot and this way is cold. And you have to spin this thing around, and somewhere on that spectrum are going to be the points. And you're trying to get your partner to move the needle based on like how you describe something that is too hot or cold to be where the points are. It's really cool.
Well, my daughter told me about a game called, I thought it was called a Wavelength of some sort. She's on TikTok. But I don't know if but it was to try to get us to guess a number that was, I'm going to have to look this up now. Mine, based off of the answers or something like that, from 1 to 10 or something. But anyway, that's really cool. Yeah, I've always loved learning about new ones, and I like especially ones that have a good combination of like strategy to luck, like more strategy than luck. Well, thanks for sharing that. So I'll definitely take a look at those. And then, what would you consider your superpower?
I don't know. I don't think I have much superpower, but I guess I would say, like, I was trying to, think, what would like my wife probably say is my superpower, or the people who know me
Yeah.
best. And I think it's probably a sense of positivity. I think I'm probably better than average at just remaining pretty positive and not really letting anything consume me or bother me that's negative. And I probably should. This is probably not a great thing, to be honest, in a lot of situations. I just can, like, take some of the bad things and just bury them really deep down, right? And just ignore them. But no, I think I'm a pretty a very positive, sometimes maybe even like hyperbolic type of guy, and I just get excited about things, and I think that's in my role and what I do. I think keeping everybody excited about what we're doing, and being really passionate about it, I think it can be a superpower.
Well, I think that's necessary as an entrepreneur and leader, an innovator. You can't let things, like, hold you down. You can't be taken aback by, like, inconveniences, and you have to wake up cheery and happy. And of course there's gonna be reality, but like, still be more optimistic about the future. I think that's necessary. Well, how can people find you if they want to connect or follow up or learn more
Yeah,
about
so I'm pretty easy to get a hold of, and if anybody wants, has questions or thoughts, you can ping me at matt@lawmatics.com. It's my email address, goes directly to me, and I love hearing from lawyers, from listeners, questions, anything like that. Our website is, www.lawmatics.com. That one's pretty easy. That's more on the Lawmatics side, but if you're interested in chatting with me or asking any questions, again, just go directly to me, matt@lawmatics.com.
Well, thanks so much, Matt. And I hope everyone learned a lot about the value of a CRM for their law practice, and some of the benefits from the automation to staying top of mind, and just sort of like what can be done, whether you have one or not, and which one you choose. I think there's a lot of value there. So thanks everyone for joining us on this journey today. Your time and engagements meant the world to us. Thanks again, Matt, for joining us today. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please definitely stay in touch on our Facebook group, Power Up Your Practice. And also, just exciting news, the book will be coming out in pretty much like early mid-September, Power Up Your Practice. So stay tuned for more details as we find that out and get that information out. But we're really excited. And I do talk a lot about, in 2 chapters of marketing, the value of a CRM and what I use in my firm as well. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you next time. Feeling overwhelmed by admin tasks? You're not alone. Many immigration lawyers are in the same boat. That's where Staffy comes in. Over 90 law firm owners just like you have turned to Staffy for help with legal, administrative, marketing, and client-facing work. Now, Staffy's mission: to help lawyers find balance while growing their firm. With bilingual virtual staff and full HR support, they take the hassle out of a team management and focus on what matters most: your clients and your practice. I've personally benefited from Staffy's support with 7 virtual assistants of my own across various areas of 2 of my businesses, including my law firm. Now, schedule a free initial consultation with Staffy. That's stafi.cc, and use the code RUBY. That's RUBY for $500 off. Thank you for tuning in to the Power Up Your Practice Law Practice Management Podcast. I'm your host, Ruby Powers, and it's been a pleasure sharing this time with you. Join us next week for another episode where we'll continue to explore insightful strategies for success. Power Up Your Practice with us. See you next time.